Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science. I want to welcome all of you who are signing in right now and all of you who have been here for our meditation. So together, we're here at First Church of Religious Science in our virtual gathering. We have people in our studio audience too. Of course, we want to welcome them. And everyone listening to us this week, no matter if it's on Zoom, now or on Facebook or YouTube. We have people listening all over the world now, so we're grateful that you're with us, and we're grateful that you're a part of us. As we gather virtually, I want to again extend a warm welcome to everyone. If you're here for the first time, I want to give you a special welcome. Every Wednesday, we have a creative living series at 7 p.m., which is a very good class for anyone who's new. It's always interesting. And then Thursday, I present the Louise material, which I've been presenting since the early 80s, 1980s when the book came out, 84. That class is particularly helpful because it presents the best of Louise Hay. We probably take it a little deeper than she did in the book, You Can Heal Your Life, because we add in source material from other New Thought authors as well. So let's get in today's topic, which is entitled What It Takes. Together, we'll explore the qualities and the inner strength that we have, the strength that we have that guides us through all of our challenges and leads us always to success. So let's settle in, open our hearts, open our minds as we take this journey, this class together. A journey always of self-discovery and empowerment, and we do it together. And for about the fourth time, welcome to anyone who's just signed in. I want to start with a poem that I've loved for many years. I don't think I understood it entirely when I first heard it. So let me preface it by saying, if you're new, we think in terms of there being one power, one creative agency, one divine stuff, one energy. Just think of that. And through many classes over many years, I've heard just about every teacher talk about this one thing, this creative field, as Deepak Chopra would say, or oneness, as some of you would say, the energy, the source. So, and this is what we talk and teach about. We teach you, we wake up to the realization that all there is that, and then we're a part of that. And so most of our classes are around subjects of awakening to how great thou art. And Ella Wheeler Wilcox is a poet laureate, one of the favorites of some of the religious science people in the early movement. And she had a poem entitled Conversation. And it starts out by her saying, God and I in space alone, and nobody else in view. And where are the people, O Lord, I said, the earth below and the sky overhead, and the dead whom I once knew. That was a dream, God smiled and said, a dream that just seemed to be true. There were no people, living or dead. There was no earth, nor sky overhead. There was only myself in you. Well, why do I feel no fear? I asked, meeting you here this way. For I have sinned, I know full well. And is there a heaven? And is there a hell? And is this the judgment day? Nay, they were but dreams, the great God said, dreams that have ceased to be. There are no such things as fear or sin. There is no you. You never have been. There is nothing at all but me. So you can think about that one for a while. I have thought about it for many years. I'll give you a clue. It'll bring you back to ultimately the idea that source, this energy, is all that there is. And each of us are inlets and outlets of this spectacular divine energy. So today's lesson is entitled What It Takes. So I've played with that topic different times in different ways, and There's parts of this lesson from another lesson. But the thing to understand always is you, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you've done, whatever has happened, you have what it takes. You've got what it takes. I remember my grandfather saying that to my mother. You have everything you need. I think it was Theodore Parker, Reverend, one of my favorites, who said, I've placed in you everything you need for, I don't know if it's godliness or for your keeping. You have all that you'll ever need. Deep, as Louise would say, Louise Hay, deep at the center of your being is this infinite well of love. So people are more spectacular than they could ever possibly realize. And you're traveling the road with companions, you know, that are gods, that are spiritual beings. And our lack of understanding, we judge them and we judge ourselves. And so you come into a teaching like this and pretty soon we begin to release that stuff. We release it just as quickly as it comes out of our thoughts, or as soon as we say it or think it. We start out many lessons by saying it's done unto you as you believe. We teach you here that thoughts are things. So if you want to have the kind of faith where you can move mountains, if you want to heal your life, if you want to relieve pain, you can have it. You can heal your life. You can be more prosperous. You can have peace. You don't ask God above for any of these things. That doesn't work, and it's not necessary. In this teaching, we learn not to beg for miracles. We understand that we have the power within us, so it's just a question of learning how to use it. I remember when I was a young business person, I've had a couple, like 3 business lives in my life. When I was a young business person working in a large company, there are always sales meetings going on. I think it was an insurance company, and I think it was Boston, as I remember. Sales meetings of every kind were going on, and they're all designed to get us all excited and revved up, and so we could go out and, you know, just do our thing with the world, right? And where everybody was meeting and the meeting was ending, they'd always do something at the end to give everyone a boost. And they'd yell out something like, make it happen, or something like that. You can imagine if you played any kind of sport, a coach or a team leader, or anyone who's trying to motivate people saying the same thing, make it happen. Make it happen. At the time we were young and we were full of excitement and we were pumped up and we were ready to conquer the world. Thinking back, the excitement and the enthusiasm was the thing. It was the thing that was important, because we weren't really making anything happen, or we weren't doing anything through willpower. These coaches and motivators, and I've had some really good ones, were trying to get us to see that if we have motivation and confidence, if we have that, then things are going to start to happen. We would win the sales contest. We would win. It's a little bit like Napoleon Hill and some of the early ones that I read when I was a kid. What the mind can see and believe it will achieve, you know, think and grow rich, all that type of positive motivational thinking. And you notice in all of that, there's an aliveness, there's enthusiasm. I mean, it's like you're filled with spirit. The word enthusiasm in its Latin origins is the idea of being infused with spirit. Ernest Holmes, the author of our textbook, explains it for us when he says, friends, we don't will things into happening. We never use willpower. We don't will things into manifesting. Our teaching is not about wishing for things or hoping for things. We don't wish for things and we don't hope for things to change. And it isn't about manipulating life to do our bidding. It doesn't work that way. Many of us learned to pray that way when we were kids. We're praying for God to give us this, that, or the other thing. And it simply doesn't work that way. And Ernest Holmes was, you know, driving that point home when he again said, in religious science, we don't will things to happen. We don't will manifestations. We don't try to get something at the expense of another person. We're not doing a whole bunch of wishing and hoping either. So it doesn't work that way. Our teaching uses what we call principle. And that's a word that I didn't understand for many years either. When I was in my ministerial exams, the question was, what would you do as a minister? And in your teaching, and what they're trying to have us understand as ministers is to get excited about divine principle and to be excited about it every week, which involved enthusiasm. They wanted us to understand that if we were excited about this principle of life, then so would be our students, so would be our people coming to our lessons. And the principle that they're talking about is that life always, always, always responds to you because it has to. It doesn't have any choice. If you ever watched the movie The Secret, there was a big genie throughout the movie, and he had one line, and the genie's line was, "Your wish is my command." So that's what we're talking about with principle. When you get clear and when you're thinking, this principle of life is that life is going to respond to you. It's going to respond to you affirmatively, meaning if you're thinking negatively, then it's going to respond to the negativity. If your thoughts are on high, meaning if you're really doing some work to turn your consciousness around, where you're really working on living life affirmatively and seeing the good, or like I would say from Edwina Gaines, a teacher, seeing the God in the good. If you learn to keep that type of sight, where you're becoming a practitioner, where you're here to see the good, you're here to see the good, the God. If that's what you're training yourself to do, then your wish is the universe's command. You're going to start having demonstrations because it has to respond to you. It doesn't really have any choice in the matter. That's what it does. Life responds to us. Louise Hay would say, "I trust in the process of life to respond." Other people that are in our congregation are always fond of saying it mirrors our thoughts, our thinking. What's in your consciousness is played out in your life. So our teaching uses affirmative prayer to provide a way to open up a path in consciousness where we can open up something within ourselves. David Walker, past president of Religious Science, said when we do affirmative prayer, we are opening up an avenue through which life can express. So if you can think of your consciousness maybe as being a little bit closed down in some areas, and you can't conceptualize something bigger or different, and then you wrestle with the ideas when you hear people say, the kingdom of God is at hand. It's all here laid before you, and you're not experiencing it. So what you want to do is what they were talking about, is you want to find a way to open up an avenue within your own consciousness. You need a breakthrough, because if I'm a horse with blinders on, or I can only see what I can see, I can't see all the good that's around me. So what I want to be doing is I want to be expanding my vision. I want to look past what I know and realize there's more, and there's always more. We sometimes have a very limited definition of what God is, and I've talked about this in lots of different lessons. And it comes from our childhood, it comes from our tribe, it comes from a lot of things. And then we get a little bit older, we mature, and we realize, oh my God, I don't believe any of this stuff, or I don't believe most of this stuff. And so you come into a teaching like religious science, and you learn that you were a child of a lesser God, as that was said to me so many years ago. And it was a God of judgment and wrath and love sometimes. And, it was a lot of stuff. It was a lot of old traditional theology. And you come into religious science, and we don't have any of that. We don't teach that there's two powers. We teach that there is one power. We teach that you live and you move and you have your being in this one power. And we teach that it responds to you because it has to. We teach that the power is within you, operating through you, and it's always there attempting to get your attention. Spirit, I say, is noisy. And when I mean noisy, it's like, you know that you know when you're off track. I had a great teacher, Dr. Bill, who used to say, there is that which is within you that knows. And that was interesting at that time in my life, because I and some of my class members were habitually saying, I don't know. And he would challenge us. And he would say, there is that which is within you that knows. And I thought, darn, he's right. We do know. We're very fond of saying we don't know what to do. We don't know this and we don't know that. But he was wanting us to understand that we have direct access to Spirit. We always have, we always will. Emerson would be having us try to learn that too, way back when he was writing his essays, particularly Self-Reliance. So we're learning to rely on that voice within. Dr. Holmes would want us to have direct experience of the divine. So you don't have to be in a church. In fact, I don't think he liked churches. A lot of people wanted to have religious science churches, but I think he would have been happier if it was people who were practicing the teaching, because what you're looking for is not found in the buildings. It's deep in the center of your being. So back to, it was Dr. Barker who said we need to create avenues in mind. You've heard, I've already said it, the kingdom of God is at hand. It's another book would say, miracles are natural. When you're not experiencing them, something has gone wrong. So if you're losing out on the sense of the miraculousness of life, because it's here, it's always here. And if you're not appreciating how wonderful life is, and if you're not having gratitude just for being alive and being awake in it, that would suggest you've kind of like lost your way a little bit. You were born in the kingdom. I'll pull another parable in the prodigal son, another favorite. You're born the heir to everything, but we forget. We go off track. We go off in the far country, and I won't give you the whole parable, but eventually you wake up and you realize, oh my goodness, I'm supposed to be the king of the realm or the princess of the realm. So, you come back, you come out of the fog, you come to, and you realize I am as God created me. I'm one with the one. So as you come here week by week, and some of you come 2 or 3 times a week, which is even better, we provide a place where we can remind you of how great you are and that you live, move, and you have your being in this divine activity, and that you're one with it. You are an individualization of it. So if you learn to do deep and profound affirmative prayer, that will open up channels so great things can come forward. Merely doing affirmations throughout the day can open you up quite a bit and help you move forward. So we're clearing the way. We're making the pattern clear. Affirmative prayer expands the consciousness, and it lets reality through. The reality is God is all that there is. And as you do affirmative prayer, you're going to expand your consciousness so you can be aware of that. Our textbook would define treatment in the glossary. There's 2 definitions, but the one I like is the time, the art, the method of ridding negation or negativity from your consciousness. Because to whatever extent you find the time to do that, the time, the art, the method of ridding that negativity, you're going to experience the miraculous. You're going to be experiencing the divine. You're going to be communing with that energy if you take the effort to move that other stuff out of the way. Because the other stuff is nothing anyway. It's just stories and old stories and more stories. And as we contemplate the idea that we're one, that there is one energy, and that energy is a part of you. You can say, I'm one with this energy. I'm one with the one. As we contemplate it, And when we take that pause to reflect that you are a part of it, an individualization of it, a point of awareness within the mind of God, when you contemplate that idea that there's one love, one power, one intelligence, when you really let that idea inform you that there's nothing else, God and I in space alone, and nothing else in view. We started with that poem. As you realize it's all that, and you're a part of it, and you're awake in it, and as you center yourself in that kind of consciousness and commune with it, it will clarify your mentality. You're going to understand, or you're going to begin to understand, that this force, this creative energy, is truly all that there is. And some of you will call it God, and some of you will call it good, and that's good. That's okay. You can call it whatever you want to call it. And we're realizing whatever we call it, it's everywhere present. I think of the different countries oftentimes as I'm doing this. The Middle East and Africa and Asia, and wherever my mind will take me. And I'm realizing, okay, it's there too. I'm sure they call it other names. It's the same. It doesn't matter what it's called. And we realize that we're connected, we're beings of light, and we're connected with every group of people, every person, everywhere. And we're realizing by any name, it's the same. It's a presence. It lives in every single heart in the world, in every single child of every mind, wherever the life is, it's there. It's a presence, it's a power, again, that's everywhere, is never an absence. Yet this power, this good, this God is probably different than what you thought God to be when you were a child. Do you understand that this power, this creative intelligence is energy? It's light. It's illuminating. It's energy. It's in everything and everywhere. And most importantly, always to remember, it's in you. Deep in the center of your being, there is this thing, and it's there. And it's there to inform you. It's there to guide you, if you allow it to. The more you contemplate it, the more you think about it, and the more aware you become, the more you realize, I live, I move, I have my being in it. You realize, there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be consumed with. We're learning here to live this way. We're learning to live the affirmative life. We're here really to commune with that presence, to bring it into our awareness. As many times a day you can, do it. As we cultivate this awareness of spirit, and knowing it's all around us and it's through us, we're learning to see the good, and we're learning then to release all the other stuff, because we know everything is God. Every encounter is a holy encounter. The old tapes, the old resentments, the judgments, all that stuff have to go. There's no place for them. If you understand that everything is good in God, then why am I hanging on to a resentment? Why am I hanging on to resentment about somebody when I know everything is God in action? I'm drawn right to the conclusion from the very beginning that everyone is doing the best that they can with what they know. So here I am holding on to resentment. Why? We know more than that. So we release the need to be angry. We release the need for any of that, because we know we're connected with this person. We're connected with everything, and everything, everyone, and all the time. So we are in this teaching, we're communing with these ideas. They're big ideas. You're hitching your wagon to a star, the stars that Emerson talked about, the bigger ideas. You're communing with great thoughts, and they lift you to higher heights. I oftentimes speak of the story of Jesus with his mother, and she was wanting him to go with her and do some things. And his commentary, if we can trust the reading, was that he said he needed to be about his Father's business. And all that's really saying is there comes a point in your life where you level up. You really realize, I don't have time for this anymore. I used to do it, sure, but I released the need for this. I'm not doing this anymore. We have the ability to commune, as Dr. Bill T. used to say. He said, you have the ability to commune with some of the greatest minds that have ever lived. You have the ability to think great thoughts. And the thing about this teaching, we know if we think great thoughts and we stay with them, if we think about having a loving relationship and we think about having health, and we're grateful for our loving relationship, and we know that we're supplied and we're supported with our relationships, with our prosperity, as we think about it and as we know it to be true about ourselves, we move ourselves into those relationships, we move ourselves into that prosperity, that abundance. And it isn't so much about we're trudging through it or pushing or shoving. It's about the consciousness that attracts all of that. Louise would say, when you really, really love yourself, everything starts to change. And it does. So we want to commune with some of these bigger ideas. We want to live with the affirmative thoughts, the affirmations that we've all used through our life, are very empowering. If you stay with them, before you know it, you'll be living in a different world. I've said in other classes that I've taught that there will be a quickening. And the quickening really happens after you start working with the affirmations. As you begin to shift your consciousness towards a positive approach, very quickly you'll see the results. You'll see the demonstrations or the manifestations, if you prefer to call them that. I've quoted in lots of classes Benjamin Franklin's first self-help book with Poor Richard's Almanac, he was encouraging us to assume a virtue if we have it not. And he had a system where you do it, I think, for 13 weeks, and then you move on to the next virtue and the next virtue. And that's a little bit like what we're doing here. We're learning to live the affirmative life. So we want to exchange the lesser ideas or the lesser states of consciousness in for the greater. We don't have time for the pain. Life is way too short to be living that way. Any of you who are on this call, there must be a reason that you have been drawn to this material. You can heal your life. So we start by celebrating life. We start by celebrating our health. We use gratitude as a means to open up doors and avenues in minds for us to experience greater good of all kinds. And we commune with these ideas. This awareness that we have, that we're supplied and supported and we're connected with Source, will create great happiness and joy in your life. Remember the wisdom of Ernest Holmes, who taught us that those who believe in the operation of spirit are more aligned with truth than they could ever realize. So if you believe in the operation of spirit, know that it's operating in you and through you, you're far along the way already. Spirit, or what Ernest Holmes aptly termed specializing, works endlessly on our behalf through universal laws. As you immerse yourself in our community, you'll come to recognize this truth firsthand. It just takes a little bit of practice. Start practicing with your affirmations. You'll start to see it for yourself. Acknowledge with yourself the divine intelligence that's right within you, that's always there, and it will always give you the right answer. I used to practice asking myself this question: what's the most self-loving thing I can do in any given moment? And the first answer is always the answer. The second and third answers will be me rationalizing, but the first one, you have direct access to that information. What's the most self-loving thing I can do about this right now? You'll know. Acknowledge then that this divine intelligence is there, and you will always have the right answer. Embrace it, affirm it. Affirm that there's a divine intelligence. Say, there's a divine intelligence in me that knows the right answer and accepts it as the truth. Trust that the solution to any challenge resides within you. Remember, there's nothing external to you. Every moment presents a perfect opportunity for growth. When faced with a challenge, ask yourself, what am I creating this to be? That's such an important question if you can do that. When you're involved in anything, ensnared in something, and there's an interaction with other people, and you're inclined to react, it's a great question. You could ask yourself, what am I creating this person to be? What am I creating this situation to be? See, that's taking responsibility to another level. You're not making anything that's going on about the other person. What am I creating this to be? It's amazing how sometimes we project things upon people, like we're carrying grudges, and we might be carrying stuff that happened from the time we're kids, and we're projecting it, say, on the first husband and the second, or we could be carrying stuff that happened when we're younger, projecting it on our children. So we got to be really careful of that type of thing. For example, in a relationship, if we're not careful, we can be projecting things that have happened to us from the time where we were children or other relationships on some new person. I remember a wonderful facilitator that ran a group that I was a part of who asked that question every single week. She would ask, what are you creating this to be? There'd be something going on in the group, and she'd ask that question of all of us, and you'd be amazed how we all had different answers. And it all was tied into our childhood. So ask yourself that question often. What am I creating this to be? So whether it's a situation or a person, recognize, if you can, your role in shaping its meaning and its outcome. There's a saying in New Thought, it's all about you. It's all about you. At first glance, that might seem like a self-centered idea, but there's profound wisdom hidden within those words. It's all about you. When we truly grasp the meaning of it, we realize that people enter our lives not by chance, but as messengers bearing lessons that we need to learn. I'll say that's on my dance card. So people come into our lives, and there's always to benefit us ultimately. Yet often they're unaware of the role they play. They're simply navigating their life the best that they can. We have a tendency to mold other people in our minds. We project our desires and our aspirations onto other people. Maybe we envision them as our ideal partner or our best friend or something like that, our closest companion. But inevitably, we wake up to the reality that they have their own unique dreams and aspirations. And often they diverge from our own. This realization can be a rude awakening, especially in relationships, be it with our partners, our children, our friends. Everyone, it's important to understand this, everyone is on their own spiritual journey, including your children, your friends, and they're drawn in various directions by their inner callings. It's really important that we reach a level of personal growth and maturity where we can release any attachment we might have to other people's choices. This is tough stuff for us, I know. Release our attachments to what other people's choices, allowing them the freedom to follow their own path, allowing them to let them go. So that's where dedicated practice comes in. We do our affirmations early, late, and often. I was told 30 years ago, that's early, late, and often, which means we take pauses as often as we can and just reconnect and reconnect. And I will say I'm supplied and supported in those moments. That's where affirmative prayer comes in. Affirmative prayer and affirmations combined are very powerful tools, as is tuning in here regularly. By making a commitment to your own growth, which is what I know many of you have done and are doing, by making a commitment to your own journey, you initiate a quickening, a profound acceleration of all positive things in your life. And I know many of you are doing that now. And as you do this, you're going to soon realize that you are so much more than your challenges, so much more than you ever thought you are. You're much greater than what you most likely realize. So as you do this work, you're going to be in touch with your power, and the challenges that you worry about dissolve, they go away. As you affirm, I am one with the one, I'm supplied and I'm supported, you elevate your consciousness You're tapping directly into a wellspring of intelligence, love, and everything you could possibly need. With maturity comes a deeper understanding of life's journey. It's a journey of mastery. It's an opportunity for us to continually grow and express life. If you stay with us, if you stay tuned, as you keep working on cultivating a consciousness of success and embracing positive expectancy, you'll have it in all areas of your life. And in time, you'll cease complaining, because you're going to know that you're supplied and supported in every way. When Louise Hay said we're each 100% responsible for all the things in our lives, she was never suggesting that there was anyone to blame for anything. We all have made mistakes, every one of us. And all of these experiences have brought us to a higher place. The spiritually aware person is very quick to forgive themselves and others. Again, it's all happening for you. Let's remember today's powerful truth. Everything in our life, everything is actually, we can think of it as a teacher to us. We're one with this one life. Everything that's happening is happening in divine order. We're one with the one that guides us and supports us every single second and every single step of the way. With faith and knowledge on our side, we're going to thrive. So let's close this lesson with an affirmative prayer. I recognize and I know that there's one universal power, one light, one energy that we all share, one power of presence in and through all of creation. I affirm my oneness with this power, knowing I'm an inlet and outlet of its divine action and activity, that I am a unique expression of its limitless expression and potential. I affirm that everything happening in my life is happening for the highest good and growth. I release any fear, any doubt that may be blocking my consciousness or my connection with the divine wisdom. I express gratitude now for the abundance that's in my life, for the blessings that we have at our center, in our community, both seen and unseen, knowing that gratitude opens the door to even greater abundance. I release this perfect idea into the mind, into the law, knowing it's in operation and done. And so it is. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Please stay tuned, because now we're turning the microphones over to you. We have a couple minutes for everybody to share. At the very least, say hello if you're new, where you're from. And so now we turn the call over to you. Thank you.